Hello and welcome to Bettendorf Public Library's Take-Home Workshop. This time we are going to be doing dried flower initials on note cards. So in your kit you will have a container of Mod Podge. It's a sticky glue-like substance that will both make your dried flowers adhere to your note card as well as seal those dried flowers so they don't come off of your note card. Next, you will have some dried flowers. You'll also have a brush and a note card. Things that you may want to have from home would include a scissors, a pencil, and a tweezers if you've got one. So to get started, I am going to take my note card. You'll see that you can fold it in half here, so this would be the front of your card. I am going to do mine horizontally. You are very welcome to do it vertically, your choice. I am going to very lightly trace my initial onto my card. Very lightly with my pencil. This will just give me a guide of where to put those dried flowers. So my first name starts with A. So I'm gonna do my A. And this is actually a little dark, so I'm gonna go in with my eraser just a little bit. Cause I don't wanna see it through my flowers, but I need a little guideline for me to do my work. So I have just brushed off all my eraser dust. I can still see the very light outline of my initial. And the first thing I'm going to do is open my Mod Podge. And here it is. I'm going to set it back here on my work area. I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to dip that in my Mod Podge just a little bit. And then I'm going to go around my initial. And I'm gonna omit the line in the middle of my A for right now. I'm gonna go back and do that. Okay, so now I've got my Mod Podge on there. Now I'm gonna open my flowers. When we pack these kits, we try to have a variety of both greenery and flowers. These are actual dried flowers. I suggest having a scissors because you may want to cut your dried flowers into different shapes for your initial. So on your work surface, you can go ahead and cut whatever you would like. I'm gonna just move my card off to the side so you can see what I'm doing right now. I'm just gonna put it on this blue paper for a moment. I'm gonna cut my greenery and just some smaller greenery here. And then, depending on your letter and your preference, you might want to continue to cut that further so you've got smaller little leaves here. And this is why I said you might want to have a tweezers handy so that you can, even with a tweezer sometimes it's tricky, so you can pick up the dried flowers. Okay, I'm going to put my workspace here off to the side, my paper with my flowers on it. And I'll put my card back into view. Okay, so you can still see the light tracings of my A here. And I'm gonna start, oops, well, I guess I'm gonna start there because that's where this dropped. And then I'm just gonna carefully move that onto my Mod Podge, which should still be tacky and not dry. If you would like to, you can always pre-cut the leaves before you get started so you won't worry about that Mod Podge drying on you. But if it is a little dry when you put it on there, you can always just put a little more, okay? Because you want to be able to grab the dried flowers, or you want the Mod Podge to grab the dried flowers, but you don't want it gloppy. So it's just a matter of making sure it's not dry, but yet not super wet. Okay, I'm going to put that one into place. And that's where I'm going to put this. I have this really nice orange flower. I'm going to put that one right at the top of my A and press it down. The end of my initial got a little dry, so I'm going to add a little bit more Mod Podge there with my brush. I'm going to go back in with my tweezers and my dried flowers. So sometimes I think, oh, that might look better the other way around. So I'm going to turn that one around. There we go. I have a little flourish on my A right there that I'm going to use that flower for. Okay. Now, as I had said earlier, I didn't do the midline in my A. So I'm going to do that now. Kind of got a better placement of where I would like the midpoint of my A. I'm going to show you my workspace for the flowers that I cut. So I've got some pretty orange leaves, I've got green leaves, I've got a flower stem. I'm going to incorporate those into my A. So in this one, I'm going to do some green and some orange. And sometimes, even if you're using a pair of tweezers, sometimes the leaves will still stick. There we go, okay? So you can see my A right there. I'm still going to continue to put some leaves on there. And you can always put some extra Mod Podge on top of the leaves that you've already put down so that you can have, you can add more petals. So I do have these really tiny, really pretty orange flowers here. So I'm going to decorate with those. All through that A. You'll notice that I still have quite a few flowers left. So I'm going to trim those a little bit and accentuate my initial with those. Here we are again. I'm going to add a little more Mod Podge where I want to add some more dried flowers. I'm putting some really, really tiny yellow pieces on there. I'm going to try to see if you can see those right there. I'm going to lift this up. So I do have a variety of colors in my initial. So This one is a little bigger than what I wanted. So I'm going to trim that off. Put that right here. Oh, maybe, there we go. My card just slipped down a little bit. I think I'm going to put one right there. Oops. Got a little too much Mod Podge there. It's okay. I'm just going to put some more flowers there. So this one really has a nice shape to it. So I am going to carefully move that around here and put that. Now we're going to let those dry for a few moments, maybe about 5 minutes or so. And then I'm going to go back in and cover my initial with Mod Podge so that that Mod Podge seals it in and it stays just how it should be. All right, that is dried now. So I'm going to go back with my brush into my Mod Podge and I'm going to very gently Mod Podge over my dried flowers. Mod Podge does dry clear, but again, you don't want it to be gloppy. So we're going to spread this out a little bit. You don't want it to be too thick. You don't want to cover up these beautiful dried flowers that we have on here. Gently brushing. And now we'll let that dry for a few moments and I'll be back with the finished product. All right, so I've let that dry a good 10 to 15 minutes. I think it is almost all the way dry. So that is what our finished product looks like. I hope you enjoyed this take-home workshop, and thanks to our friends at the Bettendorf Public Library for sponsoring us.